nothing, and they came down and bought this property and for the duck hunting, and it's thousands of acres left intact. I mean, there's almost nowhere else in the nation where there's thousands of acres of property intact, and they bought it, and they've improved the impoundments and just created an incredible duck hunting habitat. And when it comes to the public use, I want to change gears real quickly if I can. I want to just explain another project I'm involved in. This is in the nonprofit sector, but I'm on the board of a nonprofit called the South Carolina Wildlife Partnership. And our goal, and we've been very successful. We've only been in operation 4 years. Our goal is to have public hunts on private lands, and we have. I'm not going to go into all the details, but we really, of course, the landowner. The first question is, what about liability insurance? And we've kind of cracked that nut, provided enough, very good protection for that on multiple fronts. And then you recruit the landowners, and people say, well, why should I do that? And I said, well, it's the golden rule. It's better to give than to receive. And nothing like one of the most memorable duck hunts I've ever been on is a duck hunt when my wife and I guided a Marine Corps master sergeant and his teenage son on a hunt at Nemours. They have hunts for the Marine Corps Air Base. Mm-hmm. And so this is their first duck hunt. They killed their first ducks. Both of them were blue-winged teal. One of them was banded. They lived on blue-winged teal way on Ladies Island. Cool. The young guy, every duck that flew by, the teenager was saying, "Is that a black mallard? Is that a black mallard?" No, his buddies had told him, "You need to shoot a black mallard. You're going to Nemours. That's a good spot." We didn't have any shots at black mallards. But anyway, if I hadn't have done that, I'd have hunted somewhere else that morning, and it had just kind of been lost in the fog of 1,000 other duck hunts that I've had, right? In the Case Basin. But that one I'll remember the rest of my life, because I derive more pleasure by many-fold, more pleasure taking these people, introducing them to duck hunting, these airmen and Marine Corps service, men who work on the planes and all that stuff. Yeah. And I go afterwards. We had a event that night at dinner. I go to the dinner, and there's a enlisted man, Marine. He comes up to me with his phone, and he's got a picture. He said, this was his first duck hunt too, and he says, "Would this be a good John boat for duck hunting?" The guy was already hooked. He was already looking. He's already looking for the boat to buy so he can be a duck hunter. But so it's better to give to receive. And there's a lot of property owners with really nice property who are offering their property for like make one, take one hunts, where DNR will take the kids to the range, show them how to shoot a rifle, do the hunter ed course. Then they go and do a deer hunt or on someone's really nice piece of property. And we've got folks who have very nice, well-managed land who are doing duck hunts, deer hunts, turkey hunts, dove hunts. In fact, we had the first year that we did the duck hunts, we had half as many hunters hunt on these private lands as hunt on the WMA draws that DNR has. Yeah. In that year, our first year, we were half as many as they have hunted. I think we're close to equal to what they do now. And you can sign up for this when you apply for the lottery on a duck hunt. You can there's an option to sign up for the South Carolina Wildlife Partnership hunt, and it won't take away your preference points. Any hunters know what I'm talking about who hunted on WMAs. It won't take away your preference points, and you have an option to go hunt on someone's private duck hunting pond. Right. On really nice property, and it really is one of the most fulfilling things. And there's a real benefit. There's a benefit to hunting in general to this and this and this. Johnny Evans is my good friend. Johnny Evans, a former chairman of the DNR board. It was his idea. I'm the vice chairman of the board. He pulled me in, and I've really got excited about it. But Johnny said, he's hunted in Europe, and he said there is no support for hunting in Europe because only the wealthy hunt.
Right.
And he said, I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen to this culture. We need to make sure that we expose people to hunting and produce the next generation of hunters so that there remains, support for not just what we love, but what we all know is really necessary to manage game species as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, you and I have talked about, I hunt in Colorado. We've got a place out there. We go every year and we hunt elk and turkey, and I'm a big elk hunter, as you know. And Colorado has ranching for wildlife. I mean, it's done through their Department of Wildlife, and ranchers that participate, they get extra tags. And they get extra benefits too. The department makes sure that they have people watching those lands in the same way that we have land watch here with DNR in South Carolina. And anyway, it just works really well in Colorado. There's no reason why it shouldn't work here. And let me mention one more thing, and then we're going to wrap it up because, believe it or not, it's been an hour. You mentioned the way you felt, the golden rule about taking somebody hunting. And I've obviously, and Captain Need too, we've all experienced that, and we all know how important that is. And we've got an event coming up March 18th, I think it is, Inglis.
March 18th, yeah.
Is that right? Okay, I need to double check my date. But the Jim Shockey Classic.
26th.
March 26th, thank you. The Jim Shockey Classic, which we will all be at, is exactly that. It is a place where we come together. It's a fundraiser where we come together to raise money to take wounded veterans hunting, and to do exactly what Senator Campsen has just told us he enjoys doing, and I'm telling you, I enjoy doing.
I know you do. I was with you, and let me tell you, I don't know who. I can tell you on that particular turkey hunt that I'm talking about, I think you and I were more excited than he was.
Oh,
honestly.
No doubt. The guy truly enjoyed it. Double Purple-Hearted Army Ranger.
And got a double.
And got a double, yeah. But, I mean, you get more out of it when you take somebody. And, at some point in time in your hunting or fishing career, that just begins to happen naturally. But it is such a blessing when you can watch somebody sort of get it. When you know they're hooked and they get it, and all of a sudden, it's in their blood. There's nothing more gratifying than watching that.
And I'll say this: I'm going to throw a little theology in here too. I mean, there's such a thing as theologically, it's called general revelation, where God reveals Himself generally through nature. I mean, from a Christian theological perspective. There's special revelation, which is Scripture, but there's general revelation, which is God has revealed Himself in nature. And God is not nature. This is not pantheism, which says God and nature are one. It's not deism, which says God exists, but He's not involved in nature. But God does. You see examples. You get some sense of God's attributes through nature. And Thomas Jefferson had a philosophy that he embraced. I'm not sure if he was the first one. He might have been. I'm not sure. But it was called agrarianism, and he believed that it was necessary for the republic to be successful. It was necessary to have a certain percentage of the citizenry that were what he called yeoman farmers, or people who lived on and off the land. And as y'all know, he was quite a farmer and quite into agriculture. And but he basically believed that there were virtues and unique perspectives that were essential for our future political success as a republic, that you learned through your experiences with nature. And I do think that's true. I mean, all of us who are outdoorsmen, y'all are all offshore fishermen, so am I. When your cooler overheats offshore, or your transmission cooler, there's you can't call anyone to fix it. You got to know how to fix it.
That's right.
When you're out west and the snowstorm's coming and you're elk hunting, I mean, and you're not prepared,
you're in
you
trouble.
die.
Yep, you're in trouble.
And so you learn about the law, the law that of self-reliance, responsibility, planning. There's certain virtues that you develop necessarily when you're engaged in the outdoor activities. It doesn't have to be hunting and fishing. It can be backpacking, it can be, but there's a difference. And I think, you even look at the political maps of the outcomes of the vote, like who voted for who. And if you look at the county, not at the county level, but even the granular, not the state or even the county, but the granular level, like what areas voted which way. I mean, you see urban areas where people don't have that opportunity to have that experience, and you're always relying on someone else to do something for you. You got a problem, you call the public works department. If I have a problem out in the woods, I don't have any public works department to call. I got to go do something about it.
That's right.
And so you just see a huge difference. I mean, I remember I guess I looked at the Bush-Gore map the first time. And I said, my first reaction was, by God, Thomas Jefferson was right. Because that was the first time I ever saw a really granular, not county by county, but precinct by precinct, what was the outcome. And it was stark. I mean, the whole nation's red pretty much, except these urban areas that are just, that's where there's lots of people. So and I didn't mean for all this this is philosophical. I'm not trying to be political. I'm trying to tie, some philosophical aspects into the whole conservation thing. So I apologize for any people who are offended by anything you said, but I'm just telling you, what I believe and what I think history has demonstrated.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and you don't have to apologize. I can tell you that going back to the flounder bill, when it all started coming about, of course, we had they're in 3 years separated. I was on the phone nonstop with Senator Goldfinch here. I was on the phone with Representative Lee Hewitt, with Scott Whitaker from CCA, and as discussions would come about and, my opinion on changes and this and that, and every time I would come up with something on a phone call, they would say, oh, I don't think that's going to go past Senator. I don't think Senator Campsen's going to like that. Or I don't think Senator, Stephen knows what I'm saying. He said, if we can't get Senator Campsen behind it, I don't think he's going to like it. I tell you what, first and foremost, thank you to you for caring so much about the resources here in South Carolina. I'm not one of your constituents, but I don't look at it like that. I consider again, having you and Stephen and Lee Hewitt up there, Roger Kirby, albeit we're going to other sides of the aisle, who cares? Great people to get up there and take care of the resources so that my kids can get out and enjoy the future, out in the resources and have something to enjoy them with. And I can tell you that I do hope that I am blessed enough to meet you at some point in time, but at any point, I know Stephen mentioned that we are probably going to have to cut off here, but I would like to just go ahead and call this part one of Senator Campsen's podcast, and let's line up and get together and maybe try to do another one, because there's so many different things we could touch on. But I will say this much. Thank you for all that you do out there, and getting people outdoors, like you said, taking somebody out there. I enjoy that more than myself. I'll leave the gun behind and just go with somebody their first time and just see them introduced, or get them on the boat and watch them, fight that king mackerel, which to some of us is like, trash fish, but to watch them react when that reel starts dragging, it's just incredible. And thank you again for taking the time. I know Stephen wants to finish it out, but thank you for taking the time on this afternoon to sit down with us. I really appreciate it.
You did a great job. Senator Chip Campsen, we really appreciate you being here.
Stephen, can I finish with one?
Yes, sir.
One quote.
Yes, sir.
It has become kind of my favorite quote when it comes to conservation.
Yeah.
And it's by John Sawhill, who was the former president of the Nature Conservancy and also president of NYU, actually. And he said this, that a society defines itself